Welcome to Women, Men, and Relationships. I'm JJ Flizanes.
And I am Doug Sandler. Hey, is that a cat that you have in your hand?
This is a kitten.
Hi, kitten.
This is Sugar. So first off, I want to say to everyone who is on the Manifestation Challenge and listening to this episode, you guys rock. We wanted to record today, and there's always lots to talk about, but I wasn't focused on...
You weren't pulled in any particular direction?
I wasn't pulled in any particular direction, so I thought, let me just ask everybody if there's any questions or comments or things about relationships that they wanted us to speak to, and thank you all for your very quick comments.
It's amazing how quickly our community responds. I'm blaming you for this, JJ.
Well, I will take credit. It is mostly mine. You are new to the scene. But you are responsible for bringing some people in.
Hello, men.
Right. And
welcome to the party.
And having them be more vocal. So I do first want to share a little bit of a testimonial because I asked if there were any questions or topics about relationships because
And let me say before you read this testimonial that's here, what's amazing is that as you're listening to this and you're thinking, yes, I agree with the sentiment that is you're about to hear that JJ is going to read, which is a really, really nice testimonial. Know that she gets these every day. It's just incredible how many, and how proud I am of you for getting testimonials like this. I mean, I've had a show for 4 years now, and I know that the community that we've built, I know they love me, and we have a great time together, and we joke around together. I totally feel like I am one with my community. I am on their level, and I'm like, I have nothing to teach them. But what I get from this show is so amazing as I listen to the show and listen to you and listen to the testimonials that you get, is that it's obvious to me that you are an amazing teacher. You are a guide, and you're a wonderful coach to so many that are out there. So I there's not often that we get time to really, I tell you a lot personally, but I don't think I do it a lot on the show, and I know that I probably owe you more of that. So. Not owe you, but I feel like it's obvious to me how adoring you are to your community, and so I love when people say nice things. So I just wanted to share that with you because you are such a good, great, huge influence, not only in my life but in the life of many of your listeners too. So thank you for all that you do, JJ Flizanes.
Well, thank you, Doug. Thank you. That was nice. I will receive it. So this, I'm just going to read it.
You have any money I could borrow?
Sure, babe. Sure. Is that what that whole thing was?
No. Just kidding.
Okay. So she says this isn't a question. This is from T, but more of a recognition of the work I've been doing and following since 2 years ago, listening to your podcast since last January, how I've seen so many results. She says that her partner has always been very supportive and wanting her to grow and learn and be the best version of herself, also while being thoughtful about her spirituality. Back in September, you recorded an episode about imago therapy with Harville, and I remember him saying usually one person will be the one to change or put in work, and sometimes the other follows or notices the change. It can go a couple different ways. Either they are turned off or they mimic your behavior. My partner and I were struggling in our relationship back then, and I stayed true to myself, knowing I would work on me no matter what. And that she definitely has wounds from her past and can totally see why and how she chose him to help heal those wounds and vice versa. And then she talks about an age gap and sometimes not wanting to sometimes that causes conflict for the male not wanting to change, all the while never wanting him to change who he is as much as wanting your partner to work on things with you. She said she's been consistently doing her work, involving him as much as she can, even though he has no interest. And in the last few months, he's become a man that has mimicked her positivity, love, and support, and her wanting to change. And it's a beautiful thing to witness and realize it's my constant gratitude I have and how it rubs off on others. Also manifesting the love and support I know I can have and feel in my whole heart that I'm worthy of it. Thank you so much, JJ, for your knowledge of continuous teaching. I will forever be a follower of yours and so excited to hear this podcast.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, it shows the law of attraction at work right there.
Well, and thanks, T, for letting me share that. I wanted to share it because there are times where, I believe and know that my sacred contract with my husband was to learn and to practice these principles and to understand psychology and relationships and myself on a level I never would have otherwise. When you're not challenged, when you don't have any contrast, then you never get to the depths of how to either reflect on something or fix something or alter it or why it happened. So, of course, I attracted and manifested a situation where I really had an education like I never would have otherwise. And there are times where, and I prided myself on the amount of shifts that had happened over the course of the time we were together, and not wanting to take credit for it by saying, look what I did and look at all the work I did and how you've adjusted, but being able to do it, see that it works, and then tell all of you and help others stop blaming their spouse or their partner for not wanting to go to therapy or not wanting to change, and realizing you really do have more power than you think you do. And too often couples therapy centers around two people trying to agree upon a situation that maybe shouldn't have happened or about an interpretation, and it's never it's such a power struggle that never really works. And so thank you, T, for letting me share your testimonial, because I want others to know that it does work. And sometimes I feel that I have failed in some ways because obviously mine didn't work completely. However, we all know that mine wasn't supposed to work completely. But I keep wanting to help and empower all of you to take responsibility in your relationship, because that's all you can do. You can't do anything about the other person. So why not just be the best you can be and see what happens? Because I do believe that it can make a big difference.
I agree with you 100%. And I think that the positive results that T is getting from her relationship, there's a direct correlation between her ability to surrender to the situation and to just be the best that she can be. And she's seeing, there was something that she said about the fact that her husband a little bit older, or boyfriend a little bit older, and maybe stuck in his ways. I kind of sense that in what you said. And the only thing that I would say is that, I think, I don't know if that has anything to do with age, because I look at it from my perspective, and we have a pretty good age difference between the two of us, and I don't know that age has anything to do with somebody being stuck in their ways. I think that stubbornness and personality and where they, attitude are the reasons why people oftentimes get stuck. But the mentality of you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I don't think that applies.
Well, she was saying that it kind of did until recently. So I think the whole point is to paint the picture of maybe there was some stubbornness in the beginning, and even though she's continued on doing the work, there's been a change and a shift, which is good. So thank you for that, T. So we have 3 questions today that we're going to address. First one's from Wendy, and she says, "Hi, JJ, I have a 2-part question. What advice could you give to those trying to manifest a boyfriend or husband? Is it possible to manifest someone who possesses your every desire? For example, a man who's compassionate, can cook, loves Marvel movies, generous, financially stable, conscious, loves to read, work out, honest, doesn't eat meat, etc. Am I being too unrealistic with this list? Thanks in advance." You laughed, so did you want to say something first?
No, I think it's great. I love how specific that what's her name?
Wendy.
I love how specific that Wendy is for wanting those things, and I think that I don't know why there wouldn't be any reason that she wouldn't be able to get that from one specific person. Why not?
So Wendy, my advice would be, because I'm looking at your list, can cook. That's kind of important. Loves Marvel movies. Not as important.
Well, I would just look at it, as you're about to do, go down the list and say what is important to you. Maybe prioritize which of those things are
generous,
key.
Important, financially stable, important, but also if you can work on it together, that's good too. Conscious, probably the most important, actually, out of all of this, in my opinion. Loves to read is important. Working out, honest. Okay, so not that I know I'm putting judgments on your list. Here's what I want you to do. There's probably only one thing, and it's minor, that I didn't get. But I didn't make a list recently. I mean, I used to make lists. I used to use, if Dr. Sherry Carter Scott's book, If Love is a Game, These Are the Rules. And I would make my list. Oh my God, I'd update it at least after every breakup, because I would manifest, I'd manifest some of the things on the list, and I'd try it on, and then I'd realize, oh, I don't like that. Or oh, that's not as important. Or, oh, he had all those things, but I really wanted that, and I didn't realize I wanted that, like sense of humor or something. Like, that's so much more important than I had originally thought. So until you notice what you're asking for and what you're attracting and what you're getting, and then you reevaluate. So I haven't made a real list like that in a long time. The list that I made for the past 2 years, 3 years, was a list of appreciating my husband at the time for what he did bring to the table, what I did truly, honestly appreciate about him all the time, as well as a wish list about what I couldn't wait to have. Now, keep in mind, I was also focused on getting it from him. So because I was focused on getting it from him, I didn't focus on qualities or traits. I focused on actions, like someone to travel with, or to get hugged, or to get kissed, or held, or have romance, and to laugh, and to have great sex. And so there was this list. And it was more, it was more like what I was going to get or what I was going to experience. And when I manifested Doug, he was all that and more. And he was the things that, if I would have allowed myself, which I didn't want to because I didn't think I had to, ask myself. The only thing I did notice and say that, if I was to ever be single again, here's a couple things I would do differently, or here's a couple things I would ask for that were different. But I didn't ever write that down because I never wanted to believe that that was going to happen. So I just focused on what it was I wanted out of my relationship. Now I have all the things on the list that I asked for in Doug and more. And the and more part were things that I wouldn't have thought to ask, but I want you all to understand the universe and God, source, creator, your higher self, it already knows. Your CSO, it already knows. You don't even, writing it down helps to generate emotion, which gives it power, and that power helps it to send out a stronger signal, but you don't have to write it down. I didn't write down podcaster. I never would have written that down. But of course, it's awesome that that he's a podcaster. I didn't write down entrepreneur because, again, thinking it was going to be my husband. But of course, I wanted an entrepreneur, financially stable and secure. And
what was that one thing? You said there was one thing. What was that one thing? I'm very curious. It's like the guy that gets 117 5-star reviews on Amazon gets one-star review, and which is the one that I focus on, the 1-star review. By the way, Nice Guys Finish First is the name of the book. It's on Amazon. Doug Sandler. What is that one thing, JJ?
Well, I don't know that the thing, it's more about, we've talked about this, and I don't know that this is the show to have this conversation on.
Very interesting, very interesting. I do not remember what that one thing was. A little bit shorter, maybe? I don't know. What is that one thing?
No, honey. It is a little bit of the age gap for specific reasons that we've talked about, and we will talk about at a later date, but not...
Hint, hint, wink, wink. I know what you're talking about.
Great. I'm so excited that you now are on the same page with me. Okay, so Wendy. Yes, I think you can manifest all that you want, but I also think what you want will change. I think that it's looking at what things do you want that won't change. Because whether someone, I'm guessing you're vegan because it says doesn't eat meat, some of you who are vegans will eventually not be vegans. Some of you who aren't vegans now will be vegans later. Like, it's like the food thing does change.
How about on that list? How about just having a partner that's sensitive to all of the things that you do like and that you do love? Let's say, for example, let's use the example in there that she has of Marvel. Right, the Marvel movies.
Right.
And, I don't necessarily care if I were to ever see another superhero movie again, except for Deadpool, which I love. However, if you were a Marvel fan and you loved
which I am.
Okay, I would support that. And I would even go to the movies with you, because when you love someone, we have this conversation all the time. And maybe we feel differently about it. But when you love someone to the degree that I love you, JJ, you do the things that your partner wants you to do or wants to do because it brings them joy. I never thought of myself as, I had no desire in my life to go salsa dancing. It just wasn't one of my things. But my attachment to your love for salsa makes me want to salsa with you. And it's a way for you to express yourself. And when I watch you dance, it's like, holy shit, you're like magic on that dance floor. So for me, everything that's on that list that Wendy has for her future potential man in her life or woman in her life, did you say man?
I think man.
Okay. So every one of those features, those traits, those qualities, I would say absolutely. Those are great things to want. But how about just having someone in your life that supports you, that would be willing to do those things that you want to be able to do?
Yeah, and that's going to combine T's comment with Wendy's question about sort of that old stuck in your ways. One of the things that is definitely different and refreshing about you, Doug Sandler, is how little resistance you have. You are very open and easy to you are very easy in many ways, and that is awesome. And there are too many times, for those of you that are listening, especially you guys, I don't know if you've heard, but Doug and I, we're going to do a men's retreat because I feel like the men need a space to be vulnerable and safe, and that a lot of men's issues stem from women. And I'm not saying that that means a woman in the room would somehow get blamed. It's not that. But I want to focus on that a little bit more than we would if we had a room full of women. And I don't want you women to feel guilty about how you've raised your sons or how you treat your husbands. But the fact is, a lot of men are rebelling against their mothers or their whomevers, their wives, because they feel a lack of autonomy and respect. And so whether it be they pull inward and they disconnect, or they rebel and they do the opposite to say, hey, I'm a person, don't emasculate me, don't take my personality away. Now, luckily in the case here with Doug, he has a really good relationship with his mother, and she's always told him, and I think your dad even told you could always do and be whatever you wanted to be.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So in your case, there's been an openness, and part of it's in your astrology and part of it's in the way that you were raised. So you have an openness, and it's really refreshing. So Wendy, would recommend that you make your list of the things that are most important and keep making the list and keep making lots of lists and notice when you get it and then notice when it's not important anymore. But I don't think it's unrealistic, but I also wouldn't check it next to the list, right? So like, what's the most important things in a relationship? And in Dr. Sri Carter's book, it's called there's the wish list, the knockout punch, and the must-haves. And the must-haves are those things at the top of the page that you cannot live without. And I know I did a show on it. So, there's another show that has like the whole show's about her book and about this list. And so I would recommend writing that list, the 3 categories, and figure out what your must-haves are going to be and get those in line. And I had something on my knockout punch that I ignored, and I thought it could change, and it did, but the root cause didn't change. And so now I know that the knockout punch is like it's a serious thing. If you have anything on the knockout punch, it's probably good to avoid those things. So that's my advice for Wendy. Anything else, Doug, for her?
No, I think I want to go back to my original comment, is that just if you find a partner that's supportive of the things that you want, many of those things that are on that list will disappear because you're going to still be able to enjoy your Marvel comics, and you're going to be able to enjoy your dancing and whatever, and cooking and being a vegan. And I wasn't gluten-free or dairy-free. I may be more leaning more towards dairy-free. And the fact that those are 2 things that are really important to you, I'm like, okay. And how resistant in the beginning was I to anything that was...
Okay, I will tell the cheese story. So when we first got together and I packed all my food, I made a vegan cashew goatless cheese, and it had everything but the bagel spice from Trader Joe's on it, which is basically, if you don't know what that is, it's all the spices on an everything bagel. So poppy seed, garlic, sesame seed, salt, and so anyway, I made this cheese and brought the crackers and everything, and so I think I offered you some, and you took a bite and made a face and sort of shook your head like, no. And you weren't rude about it. You just you weren't into it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Now, mind you, this is last April, 2018. And fast forward, now we're dating. He has moved in. It's June. We're going to Paso Robles. It's the end of August. And I bring the cheese, and you said, well, can I have some of that? And I said, no, you didn't like it. And you said, well, I was stupid. Right?
Well, I was stupid about many things when it came to food. It was ignorance. It was not like I was trying it and actually understanding the process of what this, like, the goodness that's in that cheese. Also, it's not just the cheese; it's so many other things that you've introduced me to. It's like even someone that was as resistant in the beginning to that, and I know there's a lot less resistance in a lot of things that I do, but for some reason, some of the food that was my hang up in the beginning, but it's not anymore. It hasn't been for quite some time. And so if you're patient, Wendy, with your man that is not a vegan, let's say, but you love him, and that is somebody that you can see a lot of the other things on that list that you mentioned are things that he does, maybe the whole vegan thing will disappear not because he will become a vegan, or maybe he's just ultra supportive and wants you to be happy. So part of you being happy is being a vegan, and he's willing to support you in that.
And maybe you can find certain meals that you can have together, certain dishes. I think it also makes it easy that for Doug, because most people who either go gluten-free or dairy-free, they try the wrong products. They like have one or two tries and then they give up, and because they think they taste like cardboard, or it has, how many times have I heard that? Oh, it's gluten-free, it tastes like cardboard. Have you had anything that I've made or introduced you that tastes like cardboard?
No, but I was so resistant in the beginning, and not even before you, so resistant to anything that was gluten-free because everything tastes like cardboard. Because I never gave it a shot, or I didn't have the right thing, or I wasn't directed to the right bakery, or I didn't go to the store and buy the right products. So many different reasons, but no.
Right. If it tastes good, no one cares. Like, just don't tell people. Make him a vegan meal, or this guy that you don't have yet. Right? Make it. There are ways how to make, if you're vegan, and you might not be, but like crushed up walnuts with some spices can taste like meat. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, and there's a whole bunch of products like the Beyond Meat burgers and sausages, and anyway, so many different options that you could make somebody something, and if it tastes good, they don't care what it is.
And if it's a deal breaker for you, if it's a knockout punch that he's not a vegan, then that's not the right one for you then.
Yeah, be careful on the food though part, guys, because there's, it gets, you may think you're at one end of the spectrum, and I'm telling you, sometimes people move in time to one other end of the spectrum. So try to be a little flexible, everybody, when it comes to the food things. Just learn to love food and cook and appreciate all of it. Of course, eat more plants and eat more greens is the bottom line. But okay, so let's move on to Brenda, because we have two more. Okay, so Brenda says, hi, JJ. It's been a very long time since I've dated. I've separated from my on and off again boyfriend of 14 years about 2 years ago. We share almost a 3-year-old baby girl. We're doing a great job co-parenting. I finally feel ready to be in a relationship. However, I feel fear and anxiety about the dating process. Any advice on how to get over the fear of putting yourself out there? Thanks.
Just do it. Just do it. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. You'll remember it. You've done it. You've learned it. You know how to do it. It'll all come back to you.
Says the guy that can't date. Okay,
oh my
hold
God,
on.
I hate dating.
Hold
make me date.
Don't even listen to him. He had one date in between his marriage breaking up.
It sounds like she wants to do it.
She has fear and anxiety about dating, and you're just like, just do it. You didn't do it. You did it one time, and you're like, I don't want to do it. So hold on. I love you, but you're not the right person to give the advice
Lord
here.
have mercy.
Let's dial it back a little bit. So. Okay, so Brenda, I don't know if you heard my advice to Wendy and took that at all and made it personalized for you, but the list that she's talking about, I would make a list and make it a fun game, and I would make it like shopping.
Ooh, this is good.
Because if you can remember, so here's the thing that I want everyone to hear, male or female. Too often, we believe that when we find the love that we're supposed to have in someone else, everything will feel better, everything will be good, and I will have no more problems, and I'll never be lonely, and I'll always have fun, and always have a companion.
How's that working for everybody?
Right. So we have to stop putting so much emphasis on finding the one or on finding a person. Are we supposed to be in relationship with people? Absolutely. But if we're not comfortable being alone, if you're not, and I'm not saying you're ready, you said you're ready to go out and date, but it's not like every time you go out, you're putting yourself out there and you're being completely exposed and vulnerable, hoping that just anybody will choose you. It's like interviewing. There are times where you don't want the job, forget the money part, but you don't want the role. It's not something you're interested in. It's not a company you want to work for. We have to learn to be a little more discerning. And so when you're dating, you're interviewing them. And you don't want all of them. And even if they want you, you don't want them. So I want all of you ladies to like think a little more highly of yourself. I'm not saying you're not, Brenda. I'm just because I'm not getting indication about
Guys
this.
too. I mean, guys too. Just because someone likes you doesn't mean you have to like them back.
Right. And it's not about I'm going to be this sheepish, meek, insecure person hoping somebody will like me. You don't want just anybody. You want somebody specific. You want somebody with specific traits and with specific desires and the way they are in the world and that they're the right fit for you astrologically and that you're going to know because your subconscious is going to project onto the person who's, who you need to heal your wounds with. So don't even worry about that part. Like your subconscious is going to take care of that. You will know when you fall in love that this is someone who there's going to be some issues down the line because you have to heal some wounds. They have to heal some wounds. So honestly, everybody, it's a little bit predestined. And I would just say, have fun, shop, try it on physically or not physically. See how it is, and then revise your list and just treat it as if you're going to a brand new restaurant and trying it out and seeing if you want to go back again. It doesn't have to be more than that. Now, for those of you that are people pleasers, your issue with dating is that you feel badly for the other person. You have this whole like rescuer thing going on.
You just named my hesitation with dating. It's like, yeah, when I went out, yeah, it's like, okay.
Well, tell them that story.
She liked me, so I'm like, I don't even remember the exact. You know the story so much better than I do. So is this the Donna story?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the Donna story.
So the Donna story was...
Sorry, Donna, if you're a listener.
I'm sure she's not. So we had gone out already, and then, but kind of like not seriously. And then there was like a little space in between. We saw each other again. We went to Denver. It was actually last April. And Doug will say that's when he fell in love with me. I fell in love with him before that. Denver was just sort of the confirmation of, okay, this is a real thing, like a real thing. And in between the first time in April and the second time was when he went out with Donna. So we're having dinner in Denver, and he says, "Oh, I had a date." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Because, I still don't know what's happening.
Probably just didn't like pop up and say, "Hey, I had a date."
You did.
No,
You really did. You're like, "Hey, what do you like? I went on a date." I think you said I might have had a confession. I went on a date. And I was like, "Cool." I was like, "How was it?" And you're like, It was fine." I said, "And so do you like her?"
In the meantime, I flew halfway across the country to see JJ. I'm telling her about this girl I went on a date with.
Right, but and I asked you if you liked her. Do you remember your response?
I probably said no. What did I say? What did I say?
I don't remember if you liked her or not. But then I said, "Do you have another date?" And you went, "Yeah." And I was like, "Why?" I don't know. Because
I'm a people pleaser and she liked me, so I thought it was important for me to go out with her again.
Oh, God, talking you out of that one and then the other person that we're not going to mention.
It was easy for you to talk. It was easy to talk me out of. I just needed somebody to pop me in the face once and just say, "Hey, dude, why are you going out with her? You don't even like her." I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I figured it would have been easier if she just didn't like me. It would have been easier. I wouldn't have gone out with her. So I probably would end up getting married again.
Oh, my God. So here's what you have to ask yourself. Do you manifest by default? Or are you consciously creating? See, Doug manifests by default. So he lets shit blow up. It's because he doesn't want to have to say, "Hey, I don't want to do this," because it's easier.
In many parts of my life, manifesting by default actually works really well for me. It ends up getting me a lot of business. It ends up getting me a lot of transitions that I don't have to do anything other than just let it happen. I want it to happen. So the energy that I'm putting out there to the universe is, shit, I wish that person would buy from me, or I wish that person would just leave me alone, or just figure out another way to do that. Or it's great for delegating. Manifesting by default is a great delegation tool.
Sometimes, and then sometimes it blows up in your face like your last marriage. But it led you here. So again, but it's the truth.
Wow.
Sorry, was that harsh?
I guess it was a little harsh, but that's fine. It's probably true too. I mean, I really don't. Wow. Okay, that's a whole different path that we can go. We'll go down that path a different episode.
Okay.
We have some really good questions here.
Okay. So back to the dating. And if you fear and anxiety about dating, advice on how to get over the fear of putting yourself out there.
Well, that's why I said just do it. It's not like I'm just saying yes. Your response to me was, well, yeah, look, the guy that doesn't like dating won't date. Yeah, but my response to many things to overcome fear and anxiety is to just do it, because once you just do it, you'll discover that it really isn't as big a deal as you really think that it is.
Okay, I have another thing. Make it like market research. So if you're going to get on some dating sites, so let's say you do one or two different dating sites. Actually, I talk about this all the time. If I'm ever single again,
you'll never be single again.
But when I thought I was going to be single, I thought, you know what? I never have done eHarmony. I'd really be interested in seeing how that compatibility profile works. And of course, I've never gotten on eHarmony. So if you have any interest in something like eHarmony or something that has a compatibility profile, look at it as an experiment. If you don't want to do that one, I don't know, I think it's more money than some of the other ones. Let's say you do one of the free ones. I would compare 3 different free sites, and maybe you make it a game that you go on 1 date a week or 2 dates a week on different, certain days of the week, like a Tuesday and a Saturday.
It's so amazing with the ease of how dating works nowadays. With all you have to do is plug in profile information online and people will come to you. It's like, where is the fear in the actual dating part? I'm curious where she has her fear.
Yeah, probably. And again, I wouldn't take it so seriously in that if you actually set your expectations really low and not expect to find your husband on this first date.
And right, and I was going to say exactly that. Just maybe the first handful of them are just testing it out, just seeing what it's all. It's just coffee. It's just lunch.
Get through 20.
It's just sex.
How about that? Get through 20 of them. And I will say, if you can find that episode I did on if love is a game, these are the rules. The best thing that I ever did for myself was understand where I needed to get my own needs met. And I think you've all heard that show. And if not, it's episode 118 on Fit to Love. I don't think I've repurposed it on Spirit, Purpose, and Energy or Women, Men, and Relationship yet. And it's called 3 Steps to Effective Communication. But it's the work of Marshall Rosenberg, Nonviolent Communication. You hear me talk about it all the time. But it is, if you understand what your needs are, the most freeing thing for me was when I lived with my roommate, Sean, in New York. And I realized that Sean and I were platonic. And Sean was an attractive man who we grew up in the same town. We went to the same high school. And we were now roommates in New York City. We had similar interests. He was my companion. And what I was always used to with my ex-boyfriend was having a constant companion. And the downfall of that is when we broke up, I tried to put the next boyfriend and the next boyfriend into this all or nothing role of that you had to be my lover and my companion and my best friend and do everything with me because that's what I was used to. So now when I finally figured out that I got my companionship, my masculine companionship met through Sean, and then in later years, before my husband, through my friend Jaime, who's gay, right? That was awesome because I spent a ton of time with Jaime. And it's and I make the reference in Fit to Love, Carrie Bradshaw and her in Stanford, right? Because she has her gay male best friend who she hangs out with all the time. It doesn't have to be gay; he can be straight. But you have a companion, is the point. It doesn't even have to be the opposite sex. It can be just a companion that you have in someone else, which then frees you up to date differently. When you date and you're looking for someone, male or female, to fill every role in your life, from best friend to companion to someone to do everything with, that is a lot of pressure on you and that other person. I would recommend that everyone out there find some companions that you don't want to sleep with or sleep with often, and you make them your companions, and then you date differently. And then you can be choosy. And you can look at someone and say, oh, that person, like I had these two guys, one was Australian and one was not. And one of them was a really, like, he and I talked and talked and talked. He was a great, like, someone to talk with, but I wasn't as sexually attracted to him. And on the other side, the other guy, the Australian guy, oh my gosh, sex was awesome, but the guy wouldn't freaking talk at dinner. Like, he didn't like words. So that wasn't going to work. Right. But now, rather than trying to force one of them to be my everything, I got to say, nope, he's got a couple things I really like, but that won't work out long term. And the other guy, up next. So that's how I would handle dating.
So, and you've dated, 47 guys at the same time?
No. I think maybe 3 or 4.
Oh, God, that would be so challenging for me. So I kind of get a little bit of what she's saying in there. If I'm reading between the lines, maybe she doesn't, like, the whole dating scene isn't her thing. The dating scene was never my thing. I mean, I've gone from relationship to relationship. I don't really do well in the I want to date. Maybe I would. I don't know. But I just never was my thing. I always felt like juggling was a very challenging part of building relationships with people. Dating sucks.
Because, and this is a good point to make, because as a woman or a very sensitive man, again, you're always really concerned about the other person's feelings. So you actually are not honest or authentic, or you feel bothered by the possibility of you think you're going to hurt someone else's feelings. Let me tell you that the right person is the right person, and that everyone else, you're just either wasting time or learning a lesson. But ultimately, if it's not the right thing, somebody somewhere is going to do something. If you can't be honest and upfront, like you were not being with the other person we will not mention, and remember the person who kept texting you?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Her. Right. I got
Right.
it.
And I finally said, because I was open, I was like, well, do you want to sleep with this person? And,
No.
Right.
No.
Do you want to date this person?
No. I
Okay.
No.
So he kept being elusive and like leaving the door open and not being direct because he didn't want to be hurtful. And I said, say these words: I am good. I'm in a relationship. Thanks. Or something like that. And you finally said it and it stopped. And prior to that, it kept the door kept being open. So guys, you don't think of it as, it's a good practice for being honest. You can say lovingly, you're a lovely person. I just don't think we're a fit. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
Okay? So practice it in the mirror. Okay.
JJ, I'm not sure this is going to work out. I know I've moved to California, changed my entire diet and my entire career because of you, but it's just not going to work out.
Yeah, you don't think so? You mean I get to go any Harmony?
No, God, the idea of me dating just is not good. I love you. I don't want to go anywhere, and I really do like Los Angeles. Also, please don't make me go back to the East Coast.
You're good, babe. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay. Last question for today, and then if more come through, we'll do another show next week. Okay. So Zoya, she says, "Oh man, how do I get my mojo back after 2 kids, a hubby that works away 3 weeks of every month, and me working as well? I'm touched." I think she meant tapped out, but it says touched out at the end of the day, but love my hubby and still find him sexually attractive, but can't get in the mood. Foreplay, no foreplay, music, porn, can't seem to, she's stuck in a mental headspace that she can't escape. Okay. So this is going to be another topic for another show, but let's talk about sex in for women and for men. Now, on a general level, I'm going to say, of course, everyone's different on a general level. But then there we have the masculine and feminine balance and level. And what I can tell you in a woman's body, from a feminine perspective, the first thing we need is space. So if you are running, yeah, you're not in the mood because you're in masculine doing mode.
And when you say space, you don't mean space away from your partner. You mean space, the distance between that masculine energy and being able to get in touch with your feminine.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're talking about giving the woman space to rejuvenate your hormones. That's really also what we're talking about. And as I said that, Zoya, I just remembered that your hormones actually have something to do with this. So that's why you need space. So on one side, if you're running, you're depleted. And the best, besides getting your hormones checked and seeing where everything is, the best things you can do on one side to replenish your hormones would be to do things like acupuncture, taking vitamin D3, K2 in a liquid form, like getting at least 10,000 a day. But to make sure that you're sleeping a solid 7 hours at least every night. Maybe get a massage occasionally and slow down. Take a vacation. See if you can't take a day off. It sounds like you're super crazy. Of course, you're not in the mood. You're in go mode. You're in adrenal fatigue mode. You're in masculine mode. And who the hell wants to have sex when you feel so bogged down with life and your body is depleted? So on a mental, emotional side, there needs to be space. Whether it be a vacation, whether it be a day off, whether it be an hour in a bathtub before. I mean, that's always a good thing for me. If I kind of want to kind of get into the mood and know we're going to have sex because I've scheduled it because I have to. Otherwise, I don't want to wait for me to be in the mood because I also may also be in masculine mode. And I don't want to not have sex and connect because my head is stressed out. Now, for a man, head stressed out, sex is a great way to get over stress. For a woman, it's exactly what kills our libido. And if we're in that stress mode, you're not going to shut your head off that quickly. You're not going to be a spinning top, like running around and all of a sudden be in the mood. You have to slow down and get in your body. So from music to like dancing, from taking a bath to, playing with using a vibrator or something. And I know you said porn doesn't help, but porn probably doesn't help if you're also, again, in like go mode and you're depleted and you're not feeling good in your body and you don't have any space.
I just want to add this because I think this is a fairly important component that I think that a lot of relationships miss, and that she is putting herself in a position that she's resolving this issue all on her own. And I think that it sounds like part of this is, okay, what am I doing? What can I do differently? I think part of it is the communication piece, I think, is essential. I think that if you were to say to me, JJ, here's what's going on. Like, we are running 1,000,000 miles an hour. You're out of town 3 of the 4 weeks. We have this kid between the two of us, or 2 kids, and it's just like life is just really, really happening way too fast. I want to be attracted to you. I want to have sex with you. I just don't know how to get my head into it. Can we just talk about like how that happens? Can we talk about like, hey, maybe every once in a while you can send me a text message that's a little bit suggestive, or can you possibly just come up behind me when I'm doing the dishes and just grab me, or can you? I'm just thinking of the things that I know work for me and work for us. And it's part of it is, yes, everybody's got this fucking busy life, and ambitious people have busy lives, and busy people have busy lives. It doesn't mean that you have to compromise your sex life as a result of it. Just know that there are many ways that you can have foreplay and things that can build throughout the course of the day.
So something that just came to me as Doug was saying that is also Tantra. It's something that we're going to do at our couples retreat over the new year. And I'll probably add it in to other places where we do anything with couples. But Tantra is the practice of, and it doesn't, for those of you that don't know Tantra, look it up. It's not necessarily sex, it's sexual energy, but you can be completely clothed, and you can be, doesn't even have to include a lot of touch. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But there are practices about using and harnessing your sexual energy and being present and sensual without being sexual. It's sort of like, it is a warm-up, and there are different exercises that you could do. So there is something called a dyad. And actually, thinking back to when I first got married, I wanted so badly to practice that. And I asked if we could do it every day. And the answer I got was no. So because of the pressure, I guess. And Doug, I haven't even asked you to do it.
No, I'm ready. What is it? I'm interested.
Well, a dyad.
Okay. And what's a dyad?
So a dyad is where 2 people face each other, And usually there's some kind of question that you could ask, and it's usually a deep, profound question. And you leave a certain amount of space. And the longer you can leave, the deeper you go. So let's say the question is, and I can dig it up. I have a whole notebook full of these questions because I used to run these meetups, like the one with my friend Karine, and I loved doing dyads. That was my favorite thing to do. But it's pretty deep, and not everybody wanted to go that deep all the time.
You know me, I'd be happy to go deep. I enjoy that. I could just sit literally directly across from you, nose to nose with you, and just have a 5-minute staring. Let's just stare in the longer you stay there, you can tell the deeper that you go with your.
And that's the beginning of what a dyad can be. And you can do it silently, but I think there's much more value in a simple question or in a simple, like a phrase. And some of them, one could be literally like, who are you? Who am I? And the who am I question, I mean, I did a meditation retreat for 3 days. You spend hours on the same question, because what happens is you give that first top level sort of conscious explanation. And anyway, it's a way to connect with your partner. And how it works is, if we're sitting across from each other and we don't have to pick the same question, but let's say for simplicity's sake, we do. And I think it's a really great way for people to connect who don't work in the same house. Now, see, I see you all day long, every day. So we set time aside to do practices and things. So we'd have to do this as well. But when someone's coming, home from work, and you're finally getting some space, again, bringing it down, having this eye to eye, very nose to nose conversation where you create the space to have this, and one person, and maybe you set the timer for 10 minutes, and the first person gets 10 minutes to address a question or a thought. And it's not about talking for the 10 minutes. It's just about sort of unlayering and getting things out of the way. But what's unique and interesting about doing a dyad is at first people talk a lot, but you don't respond. The other person just witnesses it. You do not talk back. You don't ask questions. Well, actually, you ask the same question. You keep asking the same question over and over again when the person's done with their phrase. And the asking of the same question forces them to go a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper. Now, back to, Doug, what you had brought up, which was a good point about asking or having this conversation with the spouse or partner, because we get into the love language conversation. Like, maybe it's important for her to be touched, and maybe that touch needs to happen in silence, or maybe there does need to be more words. Maybe there needs to be, so I want to make sure everyone still addresses your love languages, and or have some kind of clue as to what turns you on or what kind of gets you there. And if you don't, then just follow these steps. Again, see if you can't create some space for a dyad like this. And maybe you only do one question each. So maybe you take 20 minutes. And if that's too long, maybe you take 15 minutes or you take 10 minutes. But you start there. For us, what I like about scheduling sex is that I know it's coming. So I'm going to prepare for it. It's not like all of a sudden you're in the mood, I'm not prepared, and now you're feeling rejected because I'm not in the mood, and then I feel badly about that. If I know it's coming, then I have a responsibility to get myself prepared, to take a bath, to make sure I feel clean, to make sure the cats aren't in the room, to make sure that we're going to bed at a decent hour so that after sex I can get enough sleep. Because God knows if it's in the middle of the night and I'm worried about getting a good solid sleep, I'm not going to be focused or available emotionally, because I need sleep, because otherwise I'll be cranky. So I have to have sleep. Anyway, so that for me, the scheduling allows me to go, okay, JJ, you have a couple hours to get prepared, to get ready, to be in the mood of some kind, to be available. Even if it's not sexually available, but just be lovingly ready for you. And that to me takes the pressure off, the wondering, and the disconnect that happens when you don't schedule it, and your husband is like, okay, I'm in the mood now, and then you're not anywhere near it. Whether you have your period or you are bloated, you've got gas, like there's no way you feel in the mood. And now you have to, see, at least if you have all those symptoms and it's scheduled, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. You'll know how to prepare. Again, you'll take some time in the bathroom. You'll make up for the difference. maybe put some music on, maybe have a glass of wine. Don't get drunk. That's not what I'm telling everybody. Don't get high, but maybe you do find a way to relax a little bit more if you're a little uptight because you're not all prepared. Okay. So the layer 2, I'm not in the mood, is again on a physical side. If you have adrenal fatigue, your hormones are depleted and you need to replenish. So you have to get some sleep, get some acupuncture, take some serious doses of vitamin D, and get your hormones tested. You also have to have some space, like literal space. So you can't have kids running around and putting them to bed at 9:00 and expect at 9:15 you think you're going to go get busy with your husband. Your head is not there. There needs to be transition time. It's a man's term. Most men need more transition time, like when they come home from work before they deal with their spouse. But women need transition time for sex. Men don't need transition time for sex. Women do.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I mean, I'm gonna say physically, it's probably easier for guys to have sex than women, but the emotional connection, I think, is I mean, for a guy like me, I mean, for me, I need that also. I think that anybody can get off. I mean, I'm not looking when I look to sex, I'm not looking to have an orgasm. I'm trying to figure out, how do I make a connection with you that makes me feel like you want me. For me, that's what it's about. And I think that for a lot of guys, I think that yeah, we have the whole, analogy that men are blowtorches and women are ovens, and it takes a little bit longer for the oven to heat up and a blowtorch can just go. Yes, when the physical act of sex, absolutely, I agree with that. I think there's probably more guys can be aroused more quickly than more women can. But I think there's still that deep emotional connection that even as a guy, I still want that too.
Yeah, and I agree and think that a lot of men do want that. I will say that I also think sometimes when a man doesn't get that, they still want the physical release. There is a biological point of view and a hormonal from a man too, that let's say the man isn't emotionally available just generally, then sex becomes a physical need more than an emotional need. I'm not saying that's you, and I'm not saying that's everybody, because I do believe men are sensitive and want an emotional connection too. But let's say if they don't feel like they have the time, the bandwidth, or maybe they've been hurt before and they're not willing to be vulnerable emotionally, they still want to have sex and they still want to physically release. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm a big fan of scheduling sex. Sorry. I just think it's for women. It's important a man knows he's going to get it if it's scheduled, and a woman can do what you need to do to prepare yourself for whatever you need to feel better and to feel ready. In fact, I remember we did that around Passover, right? There was like a night that you were cranky. That's what it was. We talked about it on the show. There was some like there had been too many days and you were getting really super sensitive. And I was like, oh, it's been close to a week and you need to get laid. So then so I said, let's do it tomorrow. It was like a Friday night or something. And I was like, no, we'll have a glass of wine. We'll have a nice dinner. I'll take a bath. We had music on right. And then you're like, wow, I didn't realize that changed everything. It was a big old attitude adjustment. But I knew that the night before I couldn't have performed, if you will, as well as the next night because I was under pressure too, and I forget what was going on. So anyway, I'm a big fan of scheduling it, and again, figuring out what you need to do. Don't be so hard on yourself, and do not expect to just flip a switch and think all of a sudden you're going to be into it. You have to calm your head down. You have to have your hormones balanced. Then your body, and you need to feel femininity and space. So that's my advice.
And I love the whole therapy idea also. I mean, there are the whole idea of just part of building a positive relationship sexually within a relationship, or part of building a positive sexual relationship within a relationship is just the communication piece too. I think that there's a lot to be said about understanding that the needs that both you and your partner have. And I don't think there's any compromise to having a great conversation about it. And even if your love language isn't words. I think it's important that you have a dialogue. If you were to say to me, here are the things that are going on in my life, and this is why I think that we're having a challenge when it comes to a physical relationship. It's not that I don't want to fix it. I want to fix it. I just don't know how to fix it. So can we just work on this stuff together? And maybe the solution to the two of them having this conversation would be scheduling sex, or it may be just a different kind of sex, or maybe it's offering, I don't know, toys in the relationship. I have no idea. All I know is sometimes the dissatisfaction with a sexual relation, with the physical relationship, is just the fact that you're not talking about it. So I just want to add that to the mix as well, because
good point.
Because I think it's important that the more you communicate, the better things will be in your relationship. Even if sex isn't as often as either one of you, I can guarantee you that if you're not thinking that it's happening enough, your spouse is not thinking that it's happening enough as well. And so communicate.
Okay. And with that, I agree. I think that's very good advice. And we'll leave you with that. So if any more questions come in, we will save that for next week's episode with Doug and I on women, men, and relationships. Otherwise, we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for participating. Thank you for sending the questions as well as the testimonials and the feedback. And if anyone's interested in the couples retreat that we're going to do at the end of the year, it's going to be limited to, I think, 5 couples. And again, there will be sort of a precursor. We're not just going to take anybody. We want people who actually want to be in a relationship with each other.
Accepting applications now.
Right. I just need to create the application. And but I definitely want to know if anyone's interested in taking your relationship to the next level and doing some of these practices and learning some of them and going through them together with other couples and in a conscious way. And it'll be over the new year. So, all right, guys, thanks for listening. See you next week.
See you next time. Bye, everybody.